Imagine living in a world where the moment the sun disappears, everything around you becomes a threat, where darkness is not just the absence of light, but the presence of something far more unsettling. What if I told you that in medieval Europe, night was not a time for rest, but a time for survival? What if stepping outside after sunset could mean you might never return? There were no streetlights, no phones, no police, no one coming to help you. Only thick darkness, strange sounds, and stories of things moving that should not exist. Why did people lock their doors before sunset, as if their lives depended on it? Why were they afraid to even look out their windows at night? And what exactly was wandering through the darkness? Were these fears just superstition? Or was there something real hiding in the night? Stay with us, because what you are about to hear might make you think twice before turning off your lights tonight. Welcome to Whispers of the Middle Ages, where we explore the strangest and darkest stories from medieval times. We upload new stories every day, so make sure to subscribe and stay with us for more tales that history tried to forget. When we think about medieval Europe, we often imagine castles, knights, and kings. But there was another side to life back then, one that was far more dangerous and far less talked about: the night. In today's world, darkness is something we can easily push away. With a single switch, entire cities light up. But in medieval times, darkness was absolute. Once the sun set, the world as people knew it simply disappeared. The only sources of light were candles, oil lamps, or torches. These gave off weak, flickering light that barely reached beyond a few steps. Outside of that small circle of light, there was nothing but blackness. Walking through a medieval street at night meant stepping into the unknown. Roads were uneven, filled with mud, waste, and debris. One wrong step could lead to injury, and even a minor injury could become life-threatening in a time without modern medicine. But the darkness did not just hide the road. It hid everything. Animals were one of the greatest dangers. Wolves roamed many parts of Europe, especially near forests and rural villages. They were not just stories told to frighten children, they were very real predators. Livestock would often disappear during the night, and sometimes people did too. Travelers were especially vulnerable. Anyone caught on the road after dark risked being attacked, not only by animals, but by other humans. Bandits and thieves used the night to their advantage. With no organized police force and very little protection, criminals could act with near total freedom. If someone was robbed or killed in the night, there was little chance the crime would ever be solved. Darkness was their ally, and fear was their shield. Inside towns, things were not much safer. Streets were narrow and crowded, and many buildings were made of wood. Fires were a constant threat. A single candle left unattended could burn down an entire neighborhood. At night, when most people were asleep, fires could spread quickly before anyone noticed. Even inside their own homes, people did not always feel secure. Doors were often simple wooden barriers, and windows were sometimes just openings covered with shutters. Locks existed, but they were basic and not always reliable. Families would gather together in the same room, both for warmth and for a sense of safety. The idea of being alone in the dark was deeply unsettling. But perhaps the most powerful danger of the night was not physical. It was psychological. In a time when science could not explain many natural phenomena, people turned to belief and imagination. The night became associated with the supernatural. It was widely believed the darkness allowed evil forces to move freely. Stories of witches, demons, and restless spirits were common. People believed that certain individuals could transform or gain power after sunset. Shadows were not always just shadows. Strange noises were not easily dismissed. If you heard footsteps outside your home in the middle of the night, what would you think? Today, you might assume it is a neighbor or a passing car. But in medieval times, with no clear explanation, the mind could quickly turn to something far more terrifying. The church also played a role in shaping these fears. Religious teachings often reinforced the idea that night was a time when evil was stronger. Darkness symbolized sin, danger, and the unknown. Light, on the other hand, represented safety and divine protection. This belief system made the night feel even more threatening. It was not just that something could harm you, it was that something evil might be watching you. Because of these dangers, many towns enforced curfews. A bell would ring in the evening, signaling that it was time for everyone to go inside. After that, being outside without a good reason could make you suspicious in the eyes of others. Night watchmen were sometimes appointed to patrol the streets, but their ability to maintain order was limited. They carried lanterns and simple weapons, but they were few in number and often just as vulnerable as anyone else. Despite all this, not everyone stayed inside. Some people had no choice. Bakers, guards, and certain workers had to continue their tasks through the night. Travelers sometimes found themselves caught between towns with nowhere safe to go. For them, the night was not just dangerous, it was unavoidable. Sleep itself was different in medieval times. Many people followed a pattern known as segmented sleep. They would sleep for a few hours, wake up in the middle of the night, and then go back to sleep again. During these waking hours, the world was silent and dark. Some people prayed, others reflected on their thoughts, and some simply listened to the wind, to distant sounds, to things they could not explain. It is in these quiet moments that fear could grow the strongest. There are historical accounts of people claiming to see strange figures, hear voices, or experience events they could not understand. Whether these were dreams, illusions, or something else entirely is impossible to know. But to the people living through those nights, the fear was real. Over time, these experiences became stories, and these stories became part of the culture. Tales of haunted places, cursed individuals, and mysterious disappearances spread from village to village. Some spoke of travelers who vanished without a trace. Others told of entire areas avoided after dark because of what was said to happen there. Even if only a fraction of these stories were true, they were enough to shape how people viewed the night. It is important to remember that medieval life was already difficult. Disease, hunger, and hardship were part of daily existence. The night did not create these problems, but it amplified them. In the darkness, every risk felt greater, every sound felt closer, every shadow felt alive. Today, we might find it hard to fully understand that level of fear. We live in a world filled with light, technology, and constant connection. The unknown has, in many ways, been reduced, but not entirely, because even now, if you find yourself alone in complete darkness with no sound but your own breathing, something changes. Your senses sharpen, your thoughts shift, you begin to imagine, and for a brief moment, you might feel something similar to what people in medieval Europe felt every single night. So, the next time you turn off the lights and lie in bed, ask yourself this: has the night truly changed? Or have we just learned how to push it back? And if the darkness were to return, would we really be as safe as we think?